Okay, so this is our first writing lesson, and it is how to organize a response when you're being asked to analyze literature for something. In our case, we're looking at Carter's reactions in chapter 6 to try and figure out what type of character he is. What can we learn about Carter from the way in which he reacted? So when you organize that kind of writing, the first thing we need to do is explain what he reacted and what he reacted to, right? What event or information. And so that's these first two steps here. So it's we're going to make a claim. So we're gonna interpret or make an argument that Carter reacted in a certain way to something, and that would be the context. The to something is context. Okay. So you sort of did the make the claim part already, hopefully in your books, because we had you in your books look at what you highlighted and write what Carter's reaction was, right? So what was he feeling? How would you describe that reaction in the margins of your book? So if you did that, you should have the claim part already, and you can just fill that right in here. Carter is blank, right? So that might be shocked or surprised or in disbelief or skeptical or sarcastic or nervous, scared. Like, how was it that he reacted, right? What was that emotion that he was feeling? When, and then in your own words, you are going to write what was happening in the story. What was he reacting to? So you're going to just here summarize briefly, was it something Amos said, when he found out that, or when Amos told him that, or something that he saw when he saw the fiery man, or the toady, or when he saw Philip Macedonia, or Hufu having the pink feather. Like, what was it that he was reacting to? And you're going to put that in your own words when this happened, right? Then we're going to add our quote. So step 3 up here is add your quote. So I've given you the little starter here. You can use a different one. You can say Roy Orden writes, Carter says, Amos says, right, and provide the quote. So it's whatever works for you. So you can change this part. I just stuck it in here so the organization was there for you. And then you're going to write your quote, and you're going to cite your quote, right? And we cite it with a author's last name and page number in parentheses. So the explain part is where you're going to tell us your interpretation of Carter, right? So your inferences about Carter. What do you now know about Carter as a character in general? So because he reacted to Hufu or Philip, or the fact that his dad's a magician, or that they come from a family of magicians, right? Or there's this fiery dude after him, right? What is the way he reacted tell us about him? He's the type of character that what? And again, you were supposed to write this in the margins of your book, so hopefully you have it, right? We went over this in class, and so you're going to write that underneath your quote down here. This reaction shows Carter is what type of person? A type of person who, right? Carter is, slow to trust, right? Distrustful, maybe he's overwhelmed in the circumstance, whatever it is, right? So you're going to write that here, a character trait of Carter's that his reaction shows us about him in a more general way, less specific to this circumstance and more in general, he's this type of person, okay? Then we're going to do it with our second highlighted quote. We're going to do the exact same thing, but we can flip the order. So you can make your claim first, or you can put the context first and then make your claim. These can go in either order. And in fact, as you get better at making sure all 4 things are there, you can put them in any order. But that's a ways away. Right now, we're just going to work on the first 2 and flipping them back and forth. Because all 4 things, the claim, the context, quote, and the explanation, are necessary for one example or one reason, okay, that you're giving out of the text. They're not each individual reason. They're all together one. So we're going to flip the context and claim for our second highlighted quote. And you do that by starting with something like when, right? When Amos tells Carter that. When Carter sees this. When Carter hears this. Carter is blank, right? And this is where you're going to put his reaction, right? That's the claim, how he reacts. And so what is Carter's reaction? Okay, and again, hopefully that reaction part is in your book, and you're summarizing what was going on in the book when he reacted that way. Then you're going to write your quote from the book, and you're going to cite it, and then you're going to say what his reaction reveals. So that part is still the same. What is the character trait that this reaction reveals of Carter? Okay, and if you have time, you can do a third one in your typed response. You're not going to do a third one in the rough draft. We're just going to do 2 in the rough draft. But if you have time, you can add a third highlighted quote and put it in the same order, following the same example. You can do either or. You do claim and then context, quote, and explanation of the character trait, or you can flip it around and do the context, the claim, the quote, and explanation. So once you have the 2 examples written in our rough draft, we're going to go ahead and type it up. And I have an organization checklist to help you type it up because we have to add some things. This is a rough draft of our examples. That's not going to be your entire response. So this is our organization checklist for any time we analyze literature. I do tweak it so it's specific to the particular question you're answering. But in general, the format stays the same. You'll become familiar with this process. So as always, we're going to indent the first sentence of your paragraph. You should always tab over and indent the first sentence of a paragraph. And then that first sentence is going to be your topic sentence. And the topic sentence is when you restate the question as a statement. So the question is, how does Carter's response to information events reveal his character? Okay? And so you're going to put that in a statement. In chapter 6, Carter's response to information events reveals more of his character. You are welcome to use this as an example. I would love it if you didn't do it word for word. If maybe you changed the order up a little bit. Carter reveals more of his character in chapter 6 through his response to events and information. Carter's response in chapter 6 to the information events shows more of his character, exhibits more of his character, like you just kind of mix up the words a little bit for me for your own topic sentence, for your own style. And then you're going to add a transition word. So examples of transition words are first, for example, next, also in addition. So for this first one, first or for example would be good. Next, also in addition, don't really work for your first example. So you want to pick a transition word that works. Then you're going to make a claim, context. You're going to write what you have on your rough draft paper. Your claim, your context, right? And then here's where I say it could be either order, your quote, because I'm not always going to be giving you the rough draft piece of paper. What we ideally would like you to do is be able to take it from the book using this and directly write it into the screen. So this first time you're getting a rough draft, but that won't always be the case. And then provide your quote. I give you some example anchors here that you can use. You're citing each quote. And I remind you that if you're quoting dialogue, that you write it exactly as it is in the book, but you change the double quotation marks to a single one within your quote. Okay? And then you're going to explain the explanation. This reveals Carter prefers the world he knows and feels uncomfortable around the unknown. Okay? So this is what I took out of his reaction. Then you're going to repeat. Notice I have a second little box here, all the way down for that second example from your rough draft. And then if you have time, the third quote that you got in your book that you didn't put on your rough draft, you can do that one here, okay, along this line. And then we're going to end with the clincher, okay? So students are often like, what's a clincher? So in your green notes, okay, I give you some examples of clinchers, and I do here as well. There's 4 ways that you can write a clincher. Okay, so clincher is your last sentence, and this is an opportunity to, usually when you analyze literature, you don't get a lot of opportunity to put your own style into the words because you're analyzing somebody else's. So this is one place where you can, along with your topic sentence and the transition words that you choose. So one way to end your paragraph is with figurative language. Carter is lost in a strange new world. So this is a metaphor, right? He's not really lost, but it is a metaphor, right? Meaning that he's uncomfortable or uncertain. You could use a strong opinion, right? Artist's story is so crazy, that's my opinion. Obviously, Carter would have a hard time believing it, meaning I can understand, right? I can understand why Carter's having a hard time. It's crazy, right? I didn't say I think, though. Notice there's no I's. You're not allowed to use first-person pronouns in this type of writing, so you can't say I think, okay? And then you could use a quote from the text. You can't just end with it. It has to be tied into what you're saying. So an example would be Carter needs to believe Amos soon, because as Carter realized, the entire world was in danger. So this is my opinion, right? Carter better believe him soon, right? Because, and then I pulled a quote from the book, the entire world was in danger, right? To explain why I think that Carter needs to believe soon. And then the last way you can do it would be to say, what would it be like if the opposite were true? So an example of that, if Carter doesn't believe Amos, his life is in danger, right? So any one of these ways is how you want to do it. You want to pick one that you feel the most comfortable with for this first writing example, and just this one last statement after your last explain up here that just allows you a little bit of free choice in how you want to end your writing. So some additional things, you want to make sure this is one paragraph. Don't use any graveyard words. There's a list of graveyard words in your binder, so you want to make sure that you're not using any first-person pronouns, I think, I believe. You don't want to use any second-person pronouns like you, so no I's and no U's. And so no contractions. Students will say doesn't or can't, and I did up here actually, and I shouldn't have, right? So it should be if Carter does not believe Amos soon. Like contractions are bad, so we don't want to use contractions. And then that I'm going to fix this right now so that it's not there on your paper. There. So no contractions in your writing. That's exactly how you fix it. And those would be the big ones. And then I just give you some examples on the back side of this of how you quote dialogue. So if you look at page 73, right, this is dialogue, but he's an archaeologist. I said stubbornly. So I put, the quote still begins with the double quotation marks. So let's see. So right here when we're looking at this, right, this is the double first, and it's going to end with double quotation marks. And then where there would be double in the book, right, in the book there were double quotation marks here, I put a single, notice it's kind of blue, I put a single quotation mark, and it ended it with a single quotation mark, where there was double in the books, because this was still in the book, I said stubbornly. And so we want to just change. You're going to write exactly as in the book. You're just changing every place you see a double quotation mark in the book, make it a single, and you'll do perfectly, right? There's one double that you put in at the beginning and one double you put in at the end, and then everything the author did would be single quotation mark. I added this Carter so that we know who's speaking. So because the I, it's not me, I'm writing my response, it was Carter saying that, so I just put it in the brackets there. And then in this one, I used Carter in my anchor. Carter said that. And then I put, again, this is dialogue. And even though it doesn't start with a double quotation mark, it's mid-sentence, I still put the one single. So I did the double, and then the single, and then the dialogue, the three ellipses in the middle, and then at the end. Okay? So when you use ellipses, that's these three right here, you only use them in the middle. Notice I did not use them at the beginning, even though this was mid-sentence. That's what the anchor is for. You do not need to start with the three, and you don't need to end with the three at the end if you don't write the complete sentence. It's totally okay to not write the complete sentence from the book, to just write partial sentences from the book, but you don't need to put the ellipses at the beginning and the end, okay? And obviously we'll be doing this in class, so we'll be there to help you with it.